afternoon everyone. So today we are going to study one of the most important topic in ecology, that is species interaction. When we are studying about interaction between two different species, we call it as interspecific interactions. So we call it as interspecific interactions. So when we are studying interactions between two different species, we call it as interspecific interactions. So this is one of the most important topic in NEET. Like if you see the previous year papers on NEET or CUET UG, you will find at least one question in the paper. So let's start the topic. So what kind of questions might be asked for this topic? So you should remember the definition of all the interactions, and there are some signs, positive, negative and neutral signs of it. So you should remember all the signs. The third and the most important thing, examples. You should remember the examples of it. So we'll see all those things. So let's start the class. Why does organism interact with each other? Why? For food, for water, for shelter, for space, and for mating. So all these things make organisms interconnected with each other. So all these things leads to interconnection of organisms with each other. So no organism is alone. Remember, no organism is alone. At one point of time, they will interact with other organisms or other species too. So you might ask me, sir, in our previous classes we have studied that plants are independent organisms. But now we are saying no organism is alone. Why? Because plants are independent organisms in making their own food. That's it. Plants are independent in making their own food, but they are dependent on other organisms for different functions. So if we take pollination, they are dependent on animals or different kinds of birds or different kinds of insects. So first suppose there is no pollination at all. What will happen? No fertilization, and then no formation of seed, and then no formation of a new plant. So plants are also interconnected with the other species. They are dependent on other species. But we say that plants are independent in making their own food. Remember this point. Plants are independent in making their own food. That's it. They are independent in making their own food. Keep it aside. But they are dependent on remaining the functions, other functions. So if we see the nitrogen fixation, they are dependent on other organisms. If we take the pollination, they are dependent on different kinds of birds, insects, etc. So plants are also independent organisms. So let's start with the first one, competition. Before that, we must know three signs. There are three signs here. Positive means the organism is getting benefited, and negative means the organism is getting affected, means it is harmful for them, and zero, which means neutral. So neither they are getting any benefit nor harm. So remember this. So we'll start our topic. Please make a note of it. So let's start with the competition. So competition means interaction of species or organisms for same limited resources, which leads to same, they are dependent on the same limited resource. What will happen now? Now, both the fitness of the organism will get reduced. Now, let's see an example. Let's take an example. So, in the South American lakes, there are flamingos. Flamingos. They are birds and fishes, resident fishes in it. So, they both depend on zooplanktons for food. Two different organisms, two different species. Now they are competing for the same kind of food called zooplanktons. So now what will happen here? First, suppose there are no fishes at all. There are only flamingos. 100% of zooplanktons will be consumed by flamingos. Now suppose there are no flamingos, only fishes are present. What will happen now? 100% of the zooplanktons will be consumed by fishes. Now imagine both of them are present. What will happen? 50% will be consumed by flamingos and 50% will be consumed by fishes. So what happened? Both the fitness got affected. So it is negative and negative. Both are getting affected. So this is known as competition. So competition is of two types: interspecific competition and intraspecific competition. Interspecific and intraspecific. When there is a competition between organisms of same species, so now we are fighting with each other. We belong to same species. So this is known as interspecific. Competition between same species. So the competition is between the same species, organisms of same species. So interspecific means the competition between two different species. Between different species. Alright. So read the definition. So interaction of species or organisms for a same limited resources which leads to reduced of fitness of the both of the organisms. So now we have taken the example of flamingos and fishes which are present in South American lakes. So both of them feed on zooplankton. So now if there are no flamingos, only fishes are present. 100% of zooplanktons will be consumed by fishes. Now there are no fishes, only flamingos are present. 100% of zooplanktons will be consumed by flamingos. Now both are present. What will happen? 50% will be consumed by them and 50% will be consumed by them. So now here both their fitness got reduced. So this is why it is negative by negative. Remember this. And the competition is of two types: intraspecific and interspecific. Intraspecific competition means the competition between organisms of same species. So between humans and humans. And interspecific competition means the competition is between different kind of organisms, different kind of species of organisms. So the competition is between the species. Here the competition is between organisms of same species. So this is competition, types of competition. So now we have another principle called cost principle for competition. Cost exclusion principle. States is no two organisms surviving on the same limited resource survive together. Competitively inferior organism will be eliminated. So what Gauss principle says is, so now there are two different kinds of organisms are present. So they are feeding on the same limited resource. They cannot withstand for long. They cannot stay together for long. One should be eliminated. So now there are two organisms feeding on the same. So at one point of time the competition will increase and it leads to formation of two organisms. One is superior competitor which is getting more amount of food than the other organism. The organism which is getting the less food is inferior organism, inferior competitor. So after some generations of time, that organism, the inferior organism will be eliminated. This is what Gauss principle says. So the inferior organism will be eliminated. So there are two evidences for it. The first evidence is goat. Goat in island. So it is an interesting story. So now a goat was introduced into an island where a tortoise is present. So after some time, after a decade, the tortoise got completely eradicated from it. It got completely extinct. Why? Because goat, if you take goat and tortoise, they feed on the same limited resource called grass. So the goat became superior competitor and the tortoise became the inferior competitor. And the goat is like the goat stays there and the inferior one got eliminated. Here the inferior one is tortoise. So whole island experiment. So the limited resource is grass. So here both are competing for the same kind of limited resource. So here the inferior competitor eliminated, and here the goat is the superior. So the goat stays there and the tortoise will get eliminated. So let's revise this again. So there are two organisms. So now there is an island. A goat is introduced into the island. So along with the goat there is also a tortoise in the island. So it is a native for that island. So after some years, 10 years, the tortoise got completely extinct because of goat. Tell me the reason why. Because the food, both of them are depending on the same kind of food, grass. So here after some time the goat became superior competitor and the tortoise became inferior competitor. And the tortoise is getting less and lesser amount of food, but the goat is getting more and more amount of food. So at one point of time the tortoise doesn't have any kind of food and tortoise got completely extinct and the goat stayed there. So goat is the superior one and the tortoise is the inferior one. And there is one more example for this. Barnacle experiment. So there are two different kinds of barnacles are present on whales. Balanus and Calamus. So there are two different kinds of barnacles are present on whales. Balanus is a superior one and the thalamus is a inferior one. So when balanus is present, thalamus barnacle is absent in that region because balanus occupies more and more region, but thalamus occupies less region because it is a superior one and it is an inferior one. So these are the examples of evidences of Gauss exclusion principle. So do you think this kind of thing usually happens in natural habitat? The answer is no, because Gauss exclusion principle is a rare principle. It doesn't happen regularly. So it's a very, very, very rare kind of principle. So what actually happens in the ecosystem is resource partitioning. So what happened in Gauss principle? There are two different kinds of organisms. They are getting competitive generation after generation, and at one point of stage they became two, superior competitor and inferior competitor, and after some time, after some years, the superior competitor stayed and the inferior competitor got eradicated from the ecosystem. So here what happens is, so this principle doesn't happen usually in the ecosystem. Instead of getting eliminated, the organism prefer to stay in the environment by adjusting themselves. So here what they do is, instead of getting eliminated, they change their feeding patterns. So now instead of getting eliminated, they change the feeding patterns. So it was observed by Mac author in web species. So now Mac author scientist, he has observed some kind of thing in the web bird species. So what happened here is, there is a tree. A very big tree. So he observed 5 different species of warbler bird. So in that, one of the bird, it feeds on the top, and one of the bird, it feeds here, and one in the middle, and one in the bottom, and one in the lower bottom. Did you see? So one it feeds in the top, and one it feeds below that, and one it feeds in the middle, and one in the bottom, and one in the lower bottom. So instead of feeding in the same region, they divided their feeding patterns. So this avoids the extinction and helps in coexisting together. So this helps them in coexisting together. So this is what resource partitioning is. So instead of competing for the same resource, now they have changed their feeding patterns. Some feed here, some feed here, and some feed here, some feed here, and one species feed here. So in this way they avoid the competition. So it's a very good mechanism. Instead of getting eliminated, in this way they can stay in the ecosystem. So this is what resource partitioning is. And now let's see. Now let's see the next one. Predation. competition. Now we are going to talk about predation. Predation means interaction in which one organism kills and eats another organism. The organism which kills or eats is known as predator. Predator. And the organism which is getting killed is known as prey. So we have a very good examples. Like for predators, we can say lion and tiger and different kinds of carnivorous animals like cheetah, leopard, and all those comes under predators. So when it comes to prey, what are the food for all these predators? Bears, buffaloes, and zebras, and all those things belongs to prey. So lion is a predator and deer is a prey. So conduits. These are the conduits of trophic levels, which means conduits means pipeline for trophic levels. So these are the pipelines for trophic levels. So if you take grass and then if you take herbivores feeds on grass and primary consumers feeds on herbivores, secondary consumers feeds on primary consumers. In this way, each and every trophic level we can see predators in them. So you might think that herbivores are not predators. Herbivores are also predators. Like we can call them as predators because they feed on animals. So predators, herbivores are also called as predators. So here in predators, one is getting benefited and that is predator, and one is getting eliminated, which is prey. So here we can write it as positive and negative. Alright. And these are prudent in nature. Remember, prudent means being wise. Wise. So what happens if all the deers are consumed by tigers or lions? The complete population of deers will become extinct. And now there is no food for lions. What will happen? And after some time, even lions or tigers will also become extinct. So they know this fact. So in order to not to become extinct, they act wise. So that's the reason why they, even if there are hundreds of buffaloes and hundreds of deers are present in a forest, they don't eat them for every meal. They only go for the attack only when they are hungry. So they are prudent in nature. So which means they are wise in nature. So if they are not prudent, both the deers and both the lions will get extinct. So remember this term, conduits and prudence. And then I told you herbivores are also called as predators because they feed on grasses. And next, too efficient, both go extinct. So this is what I mean. So when predators are too efficient, means if they want to feed more and more food on, like if they want to eat more and more deers, what will happen? The population of entire deer community will become zero, means extinct. And now what will happen? There is no food for them, lions or tigers. So both of them will get extinct when the predators are too efficient. Remember these terms: conduits, prudent, and too extinct. Too efficient. When predators are too efficient, both the predators and prey go extinct. So they play a major role in ecosystem stability. So now imagine there are no predators at all. What will happen? The population of prey will increase. Like when predators are present, the deers will be around 100. And after some time, when there is no predators at all, what will be the population of deers? Some thousands. So there are thousands of deers in the forest. And at one point of time, they will consume all the grass which is left on floor. And there is no food for other organisms. And there is no food for deers. The entire ecosystem will become unstable. So these predators feeds on prey so that it will keep everything in a balanced state. This is why predators are very important for the ecosystem stability. So it controls the prey population and it also controls the invasive species control. So there is a species called prickle pear cactus which is introduced in Australia. Soon it became too much spread, like widespread of prickle pear cactus in Australia. So now the government came up with a different kind of initiative to eradicate it. So now what they did is they used cactus eating moth. So this moth feeds on the cactus and it prevents the growth of the cactus. Understood? So this is here. This is a. So here this is predator. Here this is prey. So this feeds on this. So it became a predator and it became a prey. So adaptations. So now in order to escape from the predators, both plants and animals have started their own adaptations. So now they want to hide from the predators. No, they want to get rid of the predators. So if you see thorns, spines and thick leaves, all these are adaptations of plants in order to get rid of those predators like herbivores. And there is one important plant adaptation that was mentioned in our book, Calotropis, weed plant. So you can find this in different kinds of forest, or you can find them on roads also. Calotropis, so it releases a chemical called cardiac glycosides. So this is a very toxic. When the cattle ingest it, like it will cause like indigestion inside the stomach, and sometimes it might also lead to the killing of the organism. That's the reason why herbivores don't usually prefer eating Calotropis. So these are some of the adaptations of plant, like thorns, having spikes, or having a thick leaves, or having chemicals like this cardiac glycosides, or many other chemicals. Like this prevents becoming prey for the predator. So these are examples of plants, and now there are examples for animals also. So cryptic camouflage. Camouflage means blending of organisms. Blending means now there is a white insect. So what will happen if there is a white insect here? So we cannot see it. So this is called blending. So if we see a grasshopper, when there is a grasshopper in the grass, can we find the grasshopper? No, we cannot find it. So in this way, the grasshopper will try to hide from the predator, and it will escape from the predator. It will save itself from the predator. So cryptic coloring camouflage. Coloring camouflage. Examples for this are insects like grasshoppers and frogs, etc. Some organisms are poisonous in nature. So this poison enters into the body and it leads to some effects in the predator body. So some predators avoid these kind of organisms. So there is one more example called monarch butterfly. So this monarch butterfly tastes very bad. So this monarch butterfly tastes very bad, so that the predator don't like the taste of this moth. So don't like the taste of this butterfly. That's the reason why they avoid eating these monarch butterflies. So how they became bad taste? So during caterpillar stage, they used to feed on a poisonous feed, and this makes the butterfly to become a very bad in taste in nature. So this is about predation. So let's have a very quick revision for the predation. So interaction in which one organism kills and eats the other organism. So here the organism which is killing is known as predator. The organism which is getting killed is known as prey. So usual examples of predator are lion, tiger, and different kinds of carnivores like leopard, cheetah. All those comes under predators. And prey, deer and sambar deer or nilgais, zebras, buffaloes, all these comes under prey. It depends on the situation. Sometimes we can also call herbivorous animals as predators because they feed on plants. So here we have three different important terms. Conduits means a pipeline. So these predators acts like a pipeline for each and every trophic level. And these are prudent in nature. Prudent का मतलब है कि they are wise in nature. They know what to do. So when if they are too efficient, like for suppose there are some 2 pizzas in a classroom. What will you do? You will consume whole 2 pizzas. So what they do is instead of consuming the whole pizza in at a time, they will consume it like for one after one day. So this helps them to stay for longer time. So these are prudent in nature. And coming to role, it helps in ecosystem stability and control the prey population also. So first suppose there are no predators at all. What will happen? The population of prey will increase, the population of deers will increase. At one point of time, whole grass will be finished and whole food will be finished so that no organism can eat it. Like there is no food for the other organisms. So this causes ecosystem instability. So in order to get rid of it, we have predators. So predators control the population of prey and it also helps in preventing invasive species. So there is an example of prickle pear cactus which is introduced in the 1920s of Australia. So soon it started widespreading in Australia. So now the government wanted to reduce it. So they introduced a moth called cactus eating moth. So it feeded on prickle pear cactus. So in this way the growth of prickle pear cactus has stopped. So here the prickle pear cactus is prey and the cactus eating moth is predator because this is feeding on this. Coming to adaptations. So why adaptations are needed? So here one is getting benefited and another is getting eliminated. So they don't want to get eliminated. In order to get rid of them, they started their own adaptations. So if we take plant adaptations, we have thorns, spikes and thick leaves. And one important example that we have that was given in our textbook is calantropis, which releases cardiac glycosidase, so which is a very harmful chemical. When a herbivore or a cow or a goat tries to eat it, like they don't want to taste it again. So in this way, it can get rid of those things. So not only calantropis, there are different kinds of plants. They have chemicals in the body, so they avoid the predators. And coming to animals, they have a special type of hiding nature, camouflage, which means if there is a white insect on this board, we cannot see it. In the same way, if we can see a grasshopper on a grass, it's not visible for us because it is blended into the grass. So it is known as camouflage. So in this way, the predators can get rid of it. The prey can get rid of the predators. So and then we have monarch butterfly. So it tastes very bad in nature. So that's the reason why no predator wants to taste it. So today we have finished competition and predation. So competition is negative, and predation is positive and negative. And tomorrow we will see commensalism and commensalism. Thank you. Have a great day.